Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. My first job after graduating in 2020 was at a local streaming service. The CEO, Marcus, was and still is the most insufferable person I've ever encountered. This guy's loaded, but he'd sell his own mother if it meant saving a buck. When I started there, Marcus had just inked a deal with NetStream to become part of their streaming package. Since we were primarily a local service, we had about 2 months to upgrade our system to start streaming to NetStream customers across the entire West Coast. Each day we missed the deadline meant Marcus would face hefty fines, as per the contract. Clueless about the technicalities, Marcus brought in my buddy Alex as a freelance consultant. Alex told him, "For about $20K, I can set up a system to automate the whole process." Marcus scoffed. 20 grand? You're out of your mind. Find a way to do it for half that, and you'll have to front the hardware costs. I'll reimburse you later. Knowing Marcus's reputation, I pulled Alex aside. "Dude, don't front the cash. You'll never see it again." Alex just grinned and said, "Just watch me work my magic." Somehow, Alex made it happen. We went live on schedule and Marcus was over the moon. Then Alex waltzed in with the bill. Right on cue, Marcus started with his usual spiel. "Oh, funds are a bit tight this month. Can we push this back a bit?" That's when Alex dropped his bombshell. "Sure, no problem," Alex said casually. "I'll just take all the equipment back and take the stream offline." Marcus's face went pale. "You can't do that?" "Oh, but I can," Alex replied. "And here's the kicker. To get this working on the cheap, someone needs to come in every day and manually input the streaming code. It's not rocket science, takes about 5 minutes, but guess what? No one else here knows how to do it but me." Marcus's eye twitched. "So what are you saying?" Alex leaned in. "Either you pay me what you owe, plus a $1,500 monthly consulting fee, or your service goes dark and you start hemorrhaging money to NetStream." The color drained from Marcus's face as he realized he was cornered. He paid up, fast. So instead of $20K, he ended up shelling out more than double that amount as Alex milked his $20,500 monthly fee for almost a year before his conscience got the better of him, and he finally taught someone there how to do it. The lesson? Being a penny pincher often costs you more in the long run. The next one is an entitled people story. I never thought I'd be thankful for insomnia, but that sleepless night changed everything. It was 2 a.m. and I was scrolling through real estate listings, dreaming of escaping my cramped apartment. That's when I saw it. A beautiful condo at an unbelievable price. The catch? It needed some serious work, but I'm pretty handy, so I figured I could handle it. The next day, I called the real estate agent and scheduled a viewing. As soon as I walked in, I knew this place was meant to be mine. Sure, the kitchen was straight out of the 70s, and the bathroom, well, let's just say it had seen better days. But the bones were good, and the price was right. I made an offer that day, and to my surprise, it was accepted. A month later, I was the proud owner of my very own condo. I was so excited to start renovating and make this place my home. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of painting, scraping, and plenty of YouTube DIY videos. I was making progress, slowly but surely. Then came the day I decided to tackle the ancient air conditioning unit. I had just finished removing the old unit when I heard a shrill voice behind me. "Excuse me! What do you think you're doing?" I turned around to see a woman in her 50s, arms crossed, tapping her foot impatiently. She had that "I want to speak to the manager" haircut and an expression that could curdle milk. "Hi there," I said, trying to be friendly. "I'm just replacing the AC unit. The old one was on its last legs." She looked at me like I'd just admitted to kicking puppies for fun. "You can't do that. You need homeowner association approval for any external changes." I blinked, confused. "I'm sorry, but I don't belong to an homeowner association. I own this condo." Her face turned an impressive shade of red. "Don't be ridiculous. Everyone in this complex belongs to the homeowner association. Now you need to put that old unit back immediately, or I'll have to report you." I tried to keep my cool. "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding. When I bought this place, there was no mention of an homeowner association. I have the paperwork if you'd like to see it." She waved her hand dismissively. "I don't need to see your paperwork. I'm Karen Johnson, the Homeowner Association President, and I'm telling you that you're in violation of our rules." At this point, I was starting to get irritated. "Look, Karen, I appreciate your concern, but this is my property. I don't belong to your homeowner association, and I have every right to improve my home as I see fit." Karen's eyes narrowed. "We'll see about that. Expect to hear from our lawyers." With that, she spun on her heel and marched off. I stood there holding my new AC unit, wondering what the hell just happened. I shook my head and went back to work, figuring Karen would realize her mistake and that would be the end of it. Oh, how wrong I was. The next day, I came home from work to find a cease and desist letter taped to my door. It was from the Sunnyside Estates Homeowners Association, demanding that I stop all renovations immediately and pay a $500 fine for unauthorized modifications. I couldn't believe it. I knew for a fact that I wasn't part of any homeowner association. I dug out my closing documents and double-checked. No mention of an homeowner association anywhere. I decided to call my real estate agent for some clarity. Hey Sarah, it's me. Quick question. Was there any mention of an homeowner association when I bought this place? Sarah sounded confused. An homeowner association? No, definitely not. Your condo is part of a small, independently owned complex. There's no homeowner association involved. Why do you ask? I explained the situation with Karen in the cease and desist letter. Sarah was quiet for a moment, then said, "That's not right at all. Let me do some digging and get back to you." Over the next few weeks, things escalated. Karen and her cronies started patrolling the complex, taking pictures of my ongoing renovations. I got more letters, each threatening bigger fines and legal action. I tried to reason with Karen, even offered to show her my paperwork, but she refused to listen. "I don't care what your documents say," she spat. "This complex has always had an homeowner association and you will comply with our rules." I was at my wit's end. I couldn't afford a lawyer, and the stress was starting to affect my work. That's when Sarah called me back. "I've got some interesting information for you," she said. "It turns out there used to be an homeowner association for your complex, but it was officially dissolved 5 years ago. The paperwork was filed with the city and everything." I felt a wave of relief, quickly followed by anger. "So Karen's homeowner association doesn't actually exist?" "Nope," Sarah confirmed. "They have no legal standing whatsoever." Armed with this information, I decided to confront Karen one last time. I knocked on her door, documents in hand. Karen answered, her face twisting into a scowl when she saw me. "What do you want?" "I want to show you something," I said, handing her the paperwork. "This is official documentation from the city showing that your homeowner association was dissolved 5 years ago. You have no authority here, Karen." She snatched the papers from my hand, her eyes scanning the text. I could see the moment it sunk in. Her face paled, and she started to sputter. This can't be right. We've been running the homeowner association all this time." "Without any legal standing," I pointed out. "You've been essentially playing pretend, and in the process you've been harassing your neighbors and potentially committing fraud." Karen's demeanor changed instantly. Gone was the haughty homeowner association president, replaced by a scared woman who realized she was in deep trouble. We didn't know," she stammered. "We thought we were doing the right thing for the neighborhood." I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. "Karen, I'm willing to let this go if you agree to stop this homeowner association charade immediately. No more letters, no more threats, no more patrols, and you need to inform everyone else in the complex about the homeowner association's dissolution." She nodded meekly, all fight gone out of her. "Okay, I'll do it. I'm sorry for the trouble." I'd love to say that was the end of it, that Karen saw the error of her ways and we all lived happily ever after. But real life isn't that simple. Word spread quickly about the fake homeowner association. Some residents were relieved, but others were angry that they'd been paying dues to a non-existent organization. A few even talked about pressing charges against Karen and her friends for fraud. As for me, I finished my renovations in peace. My condo looked amazing, and I didn't have to get anyone's approval for my choices. Karen avoided me like the plague, which was fine by me. A few months later, I was enjoying my new patio when I overheard a conversation between Karen and another neighbor. "Thinking of moving," Karen was saying. "After everything that happened, it's just too uncomfortable here." Part of me felt a twinge of guilt, but then I remembered all the stress and anxiety she'd put me through. Sometimes you reap what you sow. In the end, I learned a valuable lesson. Always do your research, stand up for your rights, and never underestimate the power of a good night's sleep. After all, if I hadn't been up late that night scrolling through listings, I might never have found my home, or uncovered Karen's homeowner association scam. As I sat there, sipping my coffee and enjoying the peace and quiet of my Karen-free morning, I couldn't help but smile. It had been a wild ride, but I'd come out on top. And the best part? I never had to attend a single homeowner association meeting. The next one is a petty revenge story. This all took place back when I, 31F, was a freshman in college. I went to a university out of state and was excited to be out on my own for the first time. There were different styles of dorms, and the older, more janky buildings were geared towards certain specific interests. For example, the dorm I chose to be in was the outdoor adventure dorm, for people who were into stuff like hiking, canoeing, climbing, outdoor adventure type stuff. So I thought it only fair to assume I was going to end up with a roommate who was also into fun adventure type stuff. Boy, was I wrong. On move-in day, I met her for the first time, as well as her mother, and both of them could easily be described as prim, prissy, and had a complete air of snobbery. The mother hated absolutely everything she saw and complained about everything loudly, even saying, "This room is smaller than my walk-in closet at home, and even it's too small." She also picked up a little figurine I had set on my desk, a little Viking guy my mother had given me as a little "you've got this" type of thing, and called it a cheap piece of crap before letting it drop from her hand back onto the desk and did that little finger flicky thing people do when they touch something dirty. But my roommate wasn't saying or doing much, and having a difficult family myself, I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt and thought, maybe she was raised snobby, but she's trying to break out and get into other things. Because I know that I was eager to try new things myself now that I was away from home. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and within the first few weeks, she proved to be an absolutely horrible roommate. She would eat my food, smoke in our room, which I could have had to pay a large fine for, was super loud when I would be trying to sleep for my early morning classes, and a bunch of other things you could label as passive-aggressive or just downright rude and disrespectful. I did confront her about my issues with what she was doing, but she would always just shrug me off and say it wasn't a big deal. After a while, I had enough and started trying to find ways to make living with me more uncomfortable. It started with little things, such as running to the door and farting really bad when I heard her coming to the room so she would walk into a cloud of stank, but the pièce de résistance came when she had a friend over one day, and I got a perfectly depraved idea. Our beds were parallel to each other against opposite walls, standard setup for a shared single-room dorm, and I was sitting on my bed with my back to the wall with my laptop in my lap, and the other two were on roommate's bed talking loudly and generally ignoring my presence. I had a pair of really nice skull candy headphones, the kind that when you crank them all the way up can practically be used as speakers, so even when I had them on, people could clearly hear whatever I was listening to unless the volume was turned way down. So I cranked the volume and pulled up Pornhub and found a random video of a very loud Asian woman getting railed, and her screaming and moaning was extremely audible through my headphones. I minimized the window so it was playing in the background, and I was just scrolling Facebook with a totally straight face. It took them a second to register what they were hearing, but as soon as they realized what it was, they became visibly uncomfortable. They tried to keep their conversation going, but after just a few minutes, they left to go to the friend's dorm instead. 3 days later, she told me she was moving out and getting an off-campus apartment with friends, and I had the room all to myself for the whole rest of the year, which was great because this all happened just 6 weeks after move-in, and I got to enjoy all the advantages of having a room to myself. I got a lot of fun stories out of my college days, but that will always be one of my favorites. The next one is a malicious compliance story. To add to the vacation day theme of the week, I worked at a company that had a lot of people that had worked a long time there. It was pretty common for new chemistry or chemical engineering grads to come in as their first job after college. At 20 years, they got 6 weeks, 30 days of vacation. Some people liked to work and simply rolled vacation days into the next year. The max you could ever carry over was 45 days. At some point, some bean counter figured out that the 45 days were a liability to the company. If you are selling a chunk of a company off and those people have 6 weeks of vacation and another 9 weeks in the bank, that's 15 weeks of time that the new owner could be on the hook for. So they decided and put out a proclamation that there would be no carryover from one year to the next. Much unhappiness swept the company. Lots of people tried to plan how they were going to use it. One of the key people I worked with came up in October and said they are going on vacation and how much they liked working with me, which was kind of odd, so I pressed a little on why this sounded like a forever goodbye and not a see you in a week. So I got told, under strict confidence, that they had found a new job. New job started in 2 weeks. They had enough vacation days to cover them to Jan 1, and the next year's vacation and holidays covered the first 2 months of the following year. So they were done. I wished them well, and they were gone. But they were not as good as I am in keeping secrets. There were suddenly a number of key people. Also with 6 weeks vacation and large vacation bank that were gone. Lots of unhappy people in HR. HR could not say no to the closeout vacation since they had decreed the rollover freeze. But HR decreed you must return to work to be able to collect the vacation in the next year. Turns out most of the people got jobs in very cool companies. They all scheduled a vacation day so they could come back to work for a day. They came back en masse. Co-workers scheduled them all into meetings so they had things to do on the day. It was mostly a party day with an all-day food fest. As an added bonus, senior management had indeed planned to split off a division, and the sale fell through because of all the people that had bailed out. The next one is an entitled People's story. Man, I am still trying to process an exchange I had this morning. I was sitting on my balcony having breakfast, and there was this woman I've never spoken to walking her dog. We don't know her, but my roommate and I see her down there pretty much every day. She's around our age, I would guess, so either in her 30s like us, or maybe in her 40s. We've never exchanged so much as a hello up to this point. Now, I really like my apartment complex. It's cute and pleasant to walk around, and the only thing that really sucks is when people don't clean up after their dogs. It's so freaking gross, and I hate when people don't do it. You're a grown-up who made a choice to have a pet. That comes with responsibilities that you have to keep up with. Most people around here do clean up after their dogs that I've seen, so we know it's just a few rotten eggs. If I see people who don't look like they're doing it, I call them out, which I know comes with risks, but come on, people. The response is sometimes defensive, sometimes a bit of twisting the truth like, oh, I was just going to, but they all know that they should be doing it. Anyway, this woman has her dog right by our balcony, and my friend and I were just chatting until I noticed the woman walking away without cleaning it up. So I said, in a tone more polite than the situation probably merited, "Excuse me, are you going to clean up after your dog?" And she says in this snide, snotty voice, "No, I'm good, thanks." I immediately burst out laughing, though not the good-humored kind, because I couldn't believe the audacity. I said, "Wow, that's really pathetic," which apparently is more than she'd expected me to do because she came marching back. I have to imagine most people don't call this woman out. For her to have that kind of immediate vitriol makes me think she's kind of spoiled just in general and was angry I'd embarrassed her. But she clearly knew I was right because she had to come back and double down. So she comes running at us with this kindergarten logic and goes, "I'm not the only one who doesn't clean up after my dog. Lots of people don't clean up after their dogs." And I was like, so, how does that absolve you of adding to the problem? She keeps going on about how other people do it too, so I said, "Cool, then give me their names. Let's have a list because I don't see any of them right now." And she's like, "Open your eyes and figure it out for yourself." I was like, that's what I'm doing right now. She keeps shouting that she doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to, and she doesn't care what I think, so I was like, holy crap, I have never met such an entitled person. It's insane to me that you're getting this angry over someone expecting basic decency out of you. And she says, "No, you're entitled." I burst out laughing again and said, "I clean up after my animals. Me telling you I don't appreciate you leaving messes on our shared property doesn't make me entitled. You're a grown-ass woman who knew what responsibilities she'd have when she got a pet. There are tons of other people who don't want to see your dog's crap. You're not the main character." At this point, I feel like this woman has never been confronted beyond her first snarky response, and I have a bubbly and friendly tone normally, so she probably had expected to have scared me or shocked me into silence with that callous initial reaction, because she is practically melting down, trying to upset me while my friend and I laughed. She gave me a snarky, "Have a nice day," and I wished her the same in an equal tone. Then she waddled off. And no, that's not me calling her fat. She was actually really fit. She just walks in a very exaggerated, cartoonish way like Jessica Rabbit or some crap. I thought she was doing it to be snarky, but my friend said she just always walks like that. We took a short video of her, sadly not of the incident itself as we had to go grab our phones, and I plan to take it to the front office just to let them know. It's only step one. I doubt anything will be done with just this, but this has been driving me crazy, and I'm ready to start holding rude people accountable. Fortunately, I can use the corporate offices if the people here don't start to put pressure on people who are blatantly breaking their lease. It's right in there that you have to clean up after your animals. I'm not trying to get anyone evicted, but I'm hoping she at least feels the pressure to act like a grown-up and take care of her pets. Like I wouldn't cry if she got a fine or something. Seriously though, it's painful to me that people like this even exist. She was so confident that she was somehow in the right that she didn't even try to lie about it. Like, woman, you aren't 12. The other people do it argument isn't gonna hold up in court. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.